All right, so I want to give a quick run-through overview of MIMIC. So our idea with MIMIC is a remote controller for camera settings, MOVI pointing, and with the latest release of firmware, also control of focus, iris, and zoom. So we kind of want this one little controller to do as much as possible from up to 600 feet, 600 plus feet away. So diving into MIMIC, from the main screen, you can see the options. We've got the ability to do pan adjust. We can cycle through the modes. So I'm going to hold on to the ring, but you can see so we just switched to MIMIC there. So the camera's going to do what I do with the MIMIC. We can go to kill, and we can just go to off, which transfers to majestic. And then we can scroll through the MIMIC menu and talk about each thing. So you can adjust MOVI tuning from the MIMIC. It's nice if you get, if the thing's up in the air and you realize that your tuning is off a little bit, you can dial it down remotely. So we've got all these red controls. You can dial in, jump into the settings. All these different options to control remotely, super nice, and we'll build this out over time so it's even more fully featured. With the latest firmware release, like I mentioned, you have focus, iris, and zoom control using actual gestural motions of the MIMIC, which is super fun. We've got gamepad as an option, so you can plug in the gamepad into the USB and then use gamepad as a miniature MOVI controller, which is very cool. And then this is a screen where we bind. So we'll run through a binding procedure just so you understand. We recommend removing the antenna if you're close to the MōVI Pro when you're binding. If you're more than like 36 inches away while binding, it should work fine. So you'll set the channel here. You'll set the channel on the MōVI Pro, and then you press bind on each, and you'll see a little status indicator bar creep across the screen, and then we're bound. So one of the primary ways that we see people use MIMIC is mounted on the handlebars that are included with the handheld bundle to allow for camera operating and phys control. So this mounts via a little quick release clamp. So I'm just going to clamp that guy down, and then I will activate this, and you'll see as I pick it up, the MIMIC and the MOVI controller are tied together. So anything I do with the MIMIC will be reflected in the gimbal. It's a very intuitive and natural way to control the camera, and having 2 points of contacts on the handlebar allow you to very precisely point and aim the camera. So that's just one possible way to, I'm going to kill it, to use the MIMIC.